Hello and welcome into what is now known as Ravens Draft Central. And the brain trust behind Ravens Draft Central is none other than Russell Street Report's James Ogden. James, welcome in. How are you today?
I'm good, thanks, Tony. Deep in college tape at the moment.
I know you are. So let's get right to it because we just want to kind of lay the groundwork as to what Ravens Draft Central is all about and what the driving force behind it is. We're going to have, besides your contributions, several from the Russell Street Report staff, but you are the quarterback, so to speak. So we'll start with you and just get your thoughts on what Ravens Draft Central is going to be all about. So talk about your unique perspective and your draft analysis as it relates to Ravens Draft Central.
Yeah, so thanks, Tony. It's great. On Ravens Draft Central, what you're going to get is reports from me. So every report you'll find is on the section where it shows the positions is written by me. I think so. You'll like you said, you'll get all of the draft content that you normally get from our great Russell Street Report contributors. But once you get into the positions and get into the reports, you're going to be reading my analysis of those players. And I think the thing that I'm really excited about with this is that when you see lots of the national media analysts sort of analyzing players ready for the draft, what you see is them trying to project to the league without a team in mind. And anybody who's evaluated a player knows that that's hard. And anybody who scouts in the league would tell you that that's impossible. You can do your best and you can sort of say where that player might best fit, what that player projects best to in the league. But what you can't say is definitively how they fit in a certain scheme. So what's really exciting about this space is that you're going to get all of my reports. And you're going to get a feel for how I feel that player fits with the Ravens. I have a pretty deep understanding of the Ravens scheme and of what they look for in the draft at certain positions. So I'm going to tell you how I think that player, I'm going to give you a full analysis of that player, a full evaluation of that player, but then also how I think that player fits with the Ravens, which is something you're just not going to get elsewhere.
Now, James, there's a lot of people that do draft analyses. And, for our listeners and our viewers, why should they trust your analysis more than others?
So first of all, I've been doing this well over a decade now. I know I'm British, so everybody can hear that in my accent, but I've been doing this for well over a decade. I have played the game too, albeit not at a very high level. But yeah, I've been doing this for over a decade. I also am a graduate of the Scouting Academy now, so I'm going to bring some knowledge at least of what the real world football evaluation of these players is going to be. I think the big thing to watch out for, I think for me, is that what you'll find in my reports is where you can and can't trust a player. And that's the big thing that I think lots of kind of people miss when they evaluate players. You can see what's on film. People can watch film, and if you put in the work, you'll be able to tell me what that player's like, what that player's about. But the thing you won't necessarily be able to do unless you've kind of been taught to do that, or unless you kind of invest in time in yourself to be able to look at how you do that, is to understand where and when you can trust that player. Can I trust, for instance, an offensive lineman? Can I trust that guy when he's run blocking in a gap scheme, or can I trust him when he's run blocking in a zone scheme? If we get into more detail in a zone scheme, can I trust him on reach blocks to get the outside shoulder for an outside zone call? Or is it a different type of block that you can trust him? Can you trust him in space when he gets to the second level? It's this kind of stuff that I think sometimes you don't see from analysis that isn't from guys who do this in a lot of depth and in a lot of detail and have taken the time to kind of understand a bit more. There's plenty of great analysts out there, great national analysts that you should be following, like Dane Brugler, Brad Thorne for offensive line, Lance Zierlein. All these guys are great, but what they don't do is project these players to the Ravens, and that's what I'm going to try and do. And I think that's the other element of what I bring to the table is that I've been a Ravens fan for a long time, been writing about them for a few years. I've run the battle plans articles on Russell Street Report this year, so I've got a really detailed understanding of the scheme and can tell you a bit more in depth how they fit with the Ravens.
So with that in mind, James, what can people expect when they click on the reports on Russell Street Report and therefore Ravens Draft Central?
So what you'll get is you'll end up straight into the player report. Yeah, the name, as many of the measurables as we have at the moment, and then there are two gold boxes. The first gold box is a projection, which is just projecting what I think that player is, where I think they best fit in the league, what I think their value is. You've also got a second gold box, which is a bit bigger, which is the Ravens fit box, which is going to tell you how I think that player fits with the Ravens. It's going to give you a score out of 5 for how that player fits with the Ravens. And that score is going to be linked to a purple box, which is down on the right-hand side, which tells you the 5 kind of characteristics of the Ravens that I think the Ravens look for a lot in their draft analysis. I think they look for athleticism. I think they look for grit, which includes sort of a growth mindset and toughness element to it, as well as a kind of physical toughness, mental toughness going above and beyond. I think they obviously look for a scheme fit, and they're going to be looking at how that player fits with their scheme, and that's going to really weigh into their evaluation. And then there's some other things too. And I think we're also going to see, you're also going to see 2 main blocks of evaluation on the 2 different types of and depending on the different position of the player, and you're going to be a full evaluation report on those players. They're not they are not full reports that you'd expect to see as a general manager from a scout, but I do my best to give you as much detail as possible from the many films that many game films that I've watched on that player.
And we'll be complementing what you write with the forms of podcast and as well as video that's available, and we'll put it all into a nice, neat compartment so people can easily go through the players that we think the Ravens are going to be good fits for the Ravens schematically. So I'm really excited about how this is going to play out, James. I know that the Ravens use that 5-star system as you just described, and that 5 stars in those 5 categories that you described. That's a rarity. It sometimes happens with the Ravens, so we'll see if it happens with some of your reports.
It certainly will. There's a few, especially in this class as well. There's a few guys that are certainly close to getting all those 5 stars, and those guys, as you know, are usually red stars within the Ravens draft room, which is the denotation they have on their draft board for when a guy really plays like a Raven. And so we'll be on the lookout for those guys across this class as much as we can.
So we'll be hoping that you all enjoy these reports. I'm sure that you will. There's nothing like this on the web anywhere for Raven centricity. So we're really excited about this. And we also want to thank our sponsors, Royal Farms and Toyota, for making this all possible. So James, we'll let you take it away with the reports that are forthcoming. Thanks again.
Thanks, Tony.